we got here? One gentleman seems to be missing, but that's not going to stop the train from rolling. So much, in fact, and we're so eager to do the show tonight. Neither one of us are wearing our glasses. Welcome
Yeah.
to Wrestling with Egos. The
We're
I
sexy
don't give
this
a
week. We're
yeah,
sexy this week.
literally. Much like John Cena, you can't see me. Hell, I can't see anything right now. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not blind as a bat. But welcome to the show. My name's Patrick. Conspicuous by his absence is Brian. We're going to have some scheduling issues for the next little bit on the show. Just bear with us. There's a better
Mm,
than average chance you're not going to see all three of us on
yeah,
at
yeah.
the on the show at the same time. Brian is no longer able to join us on Friday nights because of work. I usually have things going on Saturday nights when Katie and Brian could be doing things. Katie could have some gigs as well. So
That's true. My
a
return to
couple of
stand up
weeks
is coming
ago,
up, to be fair. So, yeah, that will be a factor. But generally
right,
speaking, I'm the workhorse. I'm always here. You know me. It's definitely not because it's the middle of the night and who's going to be busy in the middle of the night. Of course, I can do it. You know,
right.
I'm awake
Uh,
anyway. I'm a night owl.
right. Well, so what you guys saw a couple weeks ago, the last time that you saw all three of us, it's probably gonna be the last time you're gonna see that for a while.
Mm.
Just schedules change, life evolves, so on and
And
so
you're also in a new place as well because I noticed your internet does seem to be jumping a bit every now and then, but it's very rare. So it's not too bad. And that might not be on the recording. So the people might not even be seeing it. A lot of the time that doesn't come through on the recording. So.
right, which is weird because the modem is right there. I'm in my bedroom and the modem is right there. However, there's streaming services going on through two walls
Yeah.
into the living room of the new place, and
The
everything's fine.
cable connect's always the best, but like I said, it's not bad anyway. So
Right. Well, much as I pay for our internet, it better be good. Anyway, we have a great show to talk about. Current events have led Katie and I to reminisce about the past. In case you guys haven't heard, Impact Wrestling is no more. They
yeah,
are,
be
but they're
gone.
still around, and they have decided that at the end of the year with their last pay per view, they will be resurrecting the brand of
Fuck yeah!
TNA.
I for
Hell
one am
yes,
down for that. I
I'm
never
very
understood why they changed it to Impact, and they finally understood it failed.
right. I mean, well, new ownership, and oh well, we think we should do this. Well, you thought wrong. So
Yeah,
tonight, Katie and I are going to reminisce and talk about what made TNA awesome in
yeah.
the beginnings. And trust me, there will be plenty of stuff to talk about
It'd
tonight.
be fun as well
But
because we'll come at it from different angles too. Because
oh yeah,
I think the reason I fell in love with it, or didn't realize I fell in love with it, but actually, yeah, sorry, I was going to get into it then.
we'll get into
Uh,
it in a minute.
yeah,
But obviously, some other things going along in the wrestling world right now, and let's kind of touch on those before we get into the fun stuff of the
yeah.
show. So where
Common
do you
news
want
is
to get?
fun. Common
Yeah,
news is fun.
yeah, it's all fun. Where do you want to get started tonight?
Hmm?
Where do you want to get started tonight,
Okay,
as far
well,
as like current events and stuff?
yeah. From the before the show chat, just to bring the curtain back a bit, you might guess, we don't always talk about current events because we care about wrestling so much, and you might notice a emotional Patrick at some point during a couple of these topics, but we'll get through them together. We're gonna look after you.
I
I'll caress you and everything. Oh, what's the word? I'm gonna hold you. I don't
These are tortilla chips.
know. Yes.
This is a salt shaker.
Mm.
Those two things and I have something in common tonight. We're salty.
Uh, it's so salty.
It's salt.
I suppose, yeah, the dumping you say, wasn't
It's
it?
salt, and it's
The
it's
saltiest of salty.
yeah. I mean, salt in and of itself. Brian's not here, so somebody has to use a big word, boys and girls. Salt in and of itself is an onomatopoeia. An onomatopoeia, for those of you that don't know
No, it's
all the
not.
words. Hear me out.
Okay, go ahead.
Hear me out. An onomatopoeia is a sound that is a word that makes the sound that it implies. Pop, splat, drip.
Wham!
Salt tastes like salt. So in its own strange way, it is kind of an onomatopoeia.
Because it tastes like it should.
It
Apple
tastes like
tastes
its
like
name.
apple.
It tastes like its name.
Does it?
What
do you mean? Onomatopoeia is about
about
sounding like it anyway.
Now that I think about it, never mind. Because
Yeah. Now
chicken
you say
tastes
it
like
out loud.
chicken.
Huh?
Chicken tastes like chicken.
It does.
So never mind. Never mind.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to say it out loud, don't you?
Yeah. Now that I said that out loud, I really wish I wouldn't have said that.
Which is exactly probably what they said. What Nick Khan and them thought once they said that. Yeah, we'd be happy to bring CM Punk into the WWE, because apparently since then other people have said no, we're not actually looking to bring him in now. That was the first bit of news. See that segue there? Fucking strong segue game.
Why would you want to bring in Charles Montgomery Punk into your company? Because let's be honest, that guy is more toxic than Lake Erie. That guy is more toxic for you American fans. That guy is more toxic than the water supply in Flint, Michigan.
I think I've heard about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would rather have a 5-minute long conversation with, as my daughter refers to her, the evil ex-stepmother.
That's saying something, that is.
I would rather watch a baseball game and cheer for the Philadelphia Phillies.
For other people that aren't from America, they're the bad guys in his sport world.
I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. Philadelphia Phillies are our rivals.
There was an NFL on my TV earlier, and I was like, why the fuck is NFL on the TV? Turn it off. So I did.
Bringing back CM Punk to either AEW or WWE is about as stupid as the NFL thinking that running games in London, England, or Germany, for that matter, like they're going to do this Sunday, is a smart idea. Guys, there was a thing called the World League of American Football, which then became NFL Europe. It died a miserable death. Would you like to know why? People on KD's side of the Atlantic did not give a fart.
we don't give a shit about our own stuff, so don't take it personally. Like, we just don't give a shit most of the time.
I mean, guys, Americans.
We're too chill sometimes, though, especially in England, I think. We're too chill, like in the UK. Over in, like, France. France, what do you think when you think of France? Just quick and getting off topic. You think of like chill, don't you? You don't really think of mega riot.
I don't think of chill. I think of up their own ass.
Yeah, but you don't expect like giant riots because they dare to up the retirement age 2 years. I'm talking full-on riots all across the country. That's what other places in Europe are like. We're especially chilled, and not even because we're too chilled. But that's getting onto a whole another topic. CM Punk, he is not too chilled, and that's an issue if you bring him into WWE. But he can't get away with his shit there, though. He can't do what he did in AEW, and he knows that.
But he'll try because he can't help himself.
He might not plan to, but he probably will try in the long run.
Yeah, and I'm sure he didn't plan to in AEW. Yeah. But let's be honest. Once an asshole, always an asshole.
He's definitely an asshole, like 100%. But I think he could be done as long as he knows his place. He could work well, and he knows that's his last chance. So, but I like what they said about they're not looking to bring him in now, but in the future maybe. Right now they don't need him. They don't need another name. In the future possibly, but right now they're happy where they are, and I agree with that.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of talk right now that the devil in the guy in the devil mask in AEW could very well be CM Punk, and if it is, I got one word for you. Click.
Yeah, that ain't. I don't think that's the case at all, man.
I'm already on life support with AEW because I mean some of the shit they do in their matches.
You know what?
I'm all for suspension of disbelief, but God.
Yeah. We'll move on to AEW now anyway, because the next two little bits of news are about them. Anyway, I would say in general, I agree with you for a long time now. I mean, I do agree, with AEW, like, I agree to the same. The matches, you just can't suspend a disbelief enough to really believe them. But with that being said, though, have you watched Dynamite from most recently? Which would be what would it be? The first of November's Dynamite.
I watched parts of it. What part are you alluding to, good sir?
The whole of it. That is the best Dynamite I have watched in ages. Like months, maybe the best one ever. I would literally didn't have to use a 10-second skip button once. I was very sport entertained the whole way through it, and that's the same thing as pro wrestling as far as I'm concerned. But I was just entertained.
Pro wrestling is what happens in between the ropes. Sports entertainment is what happens with the story.
There we go. Yeah.
For me, if you're on television, you're sports entertainment. If you're an independent show, you're pro wrestling because.
I think you can be a pro wrestler and be a sports entertainer at the same time. I think
I do too.
I think WWE are getting there.
I think as a person, you can be both simultaneously. As a company, you cannot.
No, you always lean one way at least, anyway.
Well, and again, if you're on TV, you are sports entertainment because you're not just the wrestling matches; you're the story as well. If you're an independent promotion that does not do TV and it's just one match after another, then congratulations, you're a pro wrestling company. Much like
I say you can have pro wrestling in between, like you said, in between a lot of sports entertainment. But it just depends how you see it, and it though.
Sports entertainment, in my opinion, is both.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And what goes on in the ring.
Yeah.
It's not one or the other. Pro wrestling is pro wrestling. Sports entertainment is pro wrestling with story.
I'm with you. In that case, I agree with you. Yeah, that's the perfect way to put it then.
And I look at it this way. Pro wrestling is at this level.
Yeah.
And then sports entertainment is here because you have to be good at this to be able to have a shot at doing this.
Yeah, I'd say the gap's even higher personally for sports entertainment being higher.
I did this that way I could actually stay in frame.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. You have to be a sports entertainment fan to a degree to even get into the pro wrestling. Because nobody starts being an indie fan. How would that happen? No. But going on to AEW then, the two bits. Like first of all, Tony Khan promising another important announcement. Did you see his important announcement? That was the one bit of the show that let me down, but it entertained me for the wrong reasons.
It was not entertaining at all. Can you hang on just 1 second? I have someone knocking at my door, and no, we're not talking about Aleister Black here.
I'll make a note.
Duty calls as a father.
Daddy duties. We all have them, unless you haven't reproduced it. In that case, bad on you. You need to be a part for the human.
Some people don't want to, and you know what? That's all for them. As a Greek philosopher once said, you do you, boo.
Yeah. Great philosopher. I believe Plato, or at least in the same league.
In the same league, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, these announcements that Tony Khan does, it's so laughable now.
So just to cover it, the announcement was that tickets are going on sale in 3 weeks for the second All-In show in Wembley that we already knew about. It was going to be a thing.
You mean the show that we pretty much knew was going to be a thing?
Yeah.
And
did they already say
after AEW was over?
They already said that they were going to do it again next year. Like I remember finding that out and being like, oh well, how are they going to do that again if it's going to be yearly? That's the worst thing to do. for taking that away. Yeah, not the only thing that was news was that it was going on. The tickets were going on sale in 3 weeks, or pre-sales were. Woo.
But to have it as an announcement with Tony
Yeah.
Khan and Nigel McGuinness, it was the most awkward thing I've ever seen in wrestling. And Mae Young gave birth to a hand, y'all.
Oh, that was actually much better.
Yeah, it was.
Tony Khan forgot to blink again as normal. He tried to make himself seem like an actual relatable person by talking about how his dad puts his Christmas trees up in July. That's not relatable. That's psychotic. So,
first off, Tony Khan is not relatable because Tony Khan and his family own 2 professional sports teams.
Yep, among going to other things.
Tony Khan and his family own a lot of different stuff, and Tony Khan and his family are worth millions, plural.
Billions.
Huh?
Billions.
Are they billionaires?
Yeah.
I thought they were just like hundreds. Anyway. I thought they were like hundreds of millionaires.
I'm pretty sure they're billionaires.
Okay, well,
that's why everybody said, finally someone to go against Vince McMahon, another billionaire.
Oh, that's right. Well, regardless, they got a shit ton of money. Tony Khan is not relatable. I'm sorry. No. He has a lot of the same traits as a wrestling fan, but the big difference between us, the biggest difference between KD or I or Brian as a wrestling fan and Tony Khan as a wrestling fan is whatever he gets to do it with a lot of freaking money.
Yeah. The nearest way he's relatable is if you've known that kid who had a bit more money in like college and had never really had many friends, suddenly had a lot of friends, suddenly was going out drinking, taking drugs, and he'd never done them before, and he was really into it. That's Tony Khan. That's the most relatable he can be. But they can't really talk about that on TV. I'd pop through it.
Yeah,
but
he's the really nice guy. Now, I would like to think that if I ever met Tony Khan would be an absolutely just great human being.
Yeah. If you were in a reason to talk to him for whatever reason,
right?
Busy as shit though.
Tony Khan, I would feel like he's that really great guy that nobody can really say that many bad things about.
Yeah.
But not too many people want to be around him because that's one awkward as a mofo kind of cat.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just like, look, I get it. I'm awkward. I'm weird. And I know a lot of people that are like, hey, Patrick's a great dude, but give you a great example. My friend Vinny, not my cousin Vinny, my friend Vinny. My friend Vinny is a buyer at one of my accounts.
I love that.
He's a buyer at one of my accounts. He pretty much handles all the beer section, the beer selections for his best friend's store, which they do wine, beer, and spirits, and they make money hand over fist. Vinny's just recently come on and started handling all the beer, and he wanted to bring me in to start buying some of our stuff.
Yeah.
And he tells his best friend, who is the owner of the store, he went, look, Patrick is a great guy, but holy shit, Patrick's intense. He's always at worst. He's an 8.
You struck me as one of those people, though. You say that. I like that. Like, I've got a mate, Farley, who, when he talks to you, he's completely focused on talking to you. Like, he gets too close to you, but that makes you feel like he's really listening to you as well, though, which is why I really like him. Other people find that annoying, but I like that. You struck me as that kind of thing.
I'm not like that. I'm just loud and intense.
Okay, fair enough.
And, when I'm talking about something, I'm very animated. And, well, shit, if you guys have been watching this show for any point in time, you know already.
Yeah, we know.
I mean, my mannerisms and the way I phrase things, that's not an act, boys and girls.
You can tell that you grew up watching pro wrestling because you do talk like you're doing a promo most of the time, which is why I personally think you're perfect for podcasting.
Thank you.
That's cool.
But Tony Khan is one of those guys. Tony Khan is one of those guys where he's just like, hey, he's a really cool dude, but damn.
Probably exactly like people would feel about Ric Flair nowadays as well, especially women as well. Like he's entertaining because he's a legitimate. Let's be honest, Ric Flair because he's coming to AEW now. Ric Flair is a legitimate pop icon right now. I saw something where it said that some guy's 12-year-old son, some celebrity, they heard the name Ric Flair and they popped for it. Even, new people know. Everyone knows Ric Flair. He's a proper name.
Ric Flair has transcended a lot of different things now because Ric Flair is an influence in like the hip hop community. Yeah. Because a lot of hip hop artists and hip hop and rap artists saw how Flair saw the decadence that Flair lived, and that became kind of like a status symbol for them.
Yeah. Bad Bunny had brought out that Ric Flair song like before he was ever in. Kevin Hart has had him on Cold as Balls. Joe Rogan, he was on as well.
Yeah, to me, Ric Flair is a parody of himself.
Yeah. He's been in the news a lot though for the last couple of months. Like he had that Kill Tony fiasco recently as well, where he just he was not comfortable roasting comedians. And as a comedian, I can appreciate that. So I have to give him a little bit more love there.
Right. But, I don't have anything good to say about Ric Flair at this point. Flair and Hogan both just need to go away.
Would you agree Ric Flair's the more lovable version of Hogan at least, though?
Oh, God, yeah, because if Flair is a racist, Flair's not open about it.
Yeah, I don't think he's a racist because I guarantee he's banged plenty of black women, Asian women. He talks about it, so he can't be a racist.
So here's my thing, and look, I know a lot of people can come at me and go, Patrick, you're very open about your faith, and you're a Christian, and Hogan has come out recently that he's discovered Christianity as well. Why?
I always assumed he was in general.
I did too. Your training, your prayers, and your vitamins. I mean,
yeah.
And always wearing the crucifix. Anyway,
I think he's got a tattoo of a crucifix. Actually, I can't say anything. I've got a tattoo of a crucifix, and I'm not religious at all. I don't believe in organized religion, so I can't say shit.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Hang on. I think I just stopped recording. Nope, we're still recording. Never mind.
Nah, you're banging. Well, our sexy metal-less faces are still on the screen, taking people's visual virginity.
Right. Oh, good God.
Much like Ric Flair would love to be able to do, but anyway. I don't know. Did you know though he's signed a multi-year deal? People were unsure at first why. Yeah, he signed a 2-year deal. No talk about what he's doing yet. He's probably just going to be managing and stuff. His Woo energy drink, that's another thing, is now the official drink of AEW.
I'm aware of Woo Energy because he actually did a promotion at a grocery store.
Oh, I think he said, yeah. That's why I'd heard about it recently again.
Yeah.
Woo!
Anyway, can we please stop talking about stupid shit that AEW is doing and start talking about stupid and fun shit that TNA did? Please.
Even though it ended up making the same mistakes that AEW is currently making, i.e. the WCW syndrome. But yes, we can.
Yes, that's exactly what TNA did and what AEW is doing right now. But
we loved it.
TNA still did some pretty awesome shit.
Oh, great stuff, man.
For those of you that aren't aware, like we said at the beginning of the show, Scott D'Amore recently on a telecast announced that TNA Wrestling with their last pay-per-view this year would be back, and they would be rebranding themselves back to TNA Wrestling Total Nonstop Action.
TNA.
Which has which has KD and I kind of started the conversation. Well, that kind of harkens us back to the original TNA and the really awesome and the really awesomely stupid shit that came out of that promotion. Because let's be honest, for all the bad things that people can say about TNA did some badass stuff.
Yeah. I mean, going to the beginning of it was NWA TNA, and going by your definition, I would argue at that point, NWA was more of a professional wrestling company, whereas TNA was it becoming a sports entertainment company, because NWA, I don't know what happened with them. I know they went away from it and it became just TNA after a year or two.
TNA, when it started with the Jarretts, they became part of the National Wrestling Alliance. And as they got bigger, they broke away from the NWA.
But I believe they kept the title for a bit.
So what?
I believe they kept the world title as the NWA title for a while.
Yes, they did.
Yeah. So how did you get into TNA then? Just out of curiosity first.
I got into TNA originally because for the first couple of events, my friend was on the shows. For those of you that don't know, I grew up with former WCW star Lash LaRue, Raging Cajun. He was a member of Misfits in Action.
That sounds familiar. I remember that.
The guy with the big sideburns.
Okay, I reckon I vaguely, but yeah.
Okay, but I grew
That's cool.
up with I grew up with Lash LaRue. He graduated from high school a year before I did. I've known the guy since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
So watching Mark, his real name, watching
bad name to have in wrestling, in the wrestling industry.
Exactly. but watching my dude, I mean, that's how I started. And from there, I learned about all of this young talent that was in TNA. First guy that caught my eye, shockingly enough.
I wonder who it could be.
Who?
Shall I take a phenomenal guest?
You just did, and you're right.
yeah. It had to be the same for everyone, man. He was Mr. TNA. He's been there since the beginning, I think, like literally the beginning.
And literally, if we're going to play word association, and you ask me, just with promotions, hey, Patrick, World-Class Championship Wrestling, Kerry Von Erich. ECW, Rob Van Dam. Or you could have gone Dreamer there. WCW, Sting. TNA, AJ Styles.
Yep. And especially as well, for me, the threesome of Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christopher Daniels. But I mean, before, because for me, when I first got into it, it was that here in England, WWE was on Sky Sports, which was like the premium channel.
Right.
So a lot of people that were, didn't have as much money like myself growing up, we wouldn't be able to get that. I only watched WWE growing up when I went to my nan's. But we did get something called the Wrestling Channel that was buried away on the sports channels, and it had TNA. I used to watch like the original Ring of Honor on there. Like I saw both CM Punk and Bryan Danielson on Ring of Honor and TNA before they ever came to WWE. Because of that, so that's quite cool.
Nice.
But TNA then, it was always on that, and then he went to a few different channels after a while. So there's loads of people around England that just follow TNA just because it was the one we could get to. It was before internet,
Right. TNA, when it started, it was exciting because they just had guys in the ring that pushed the envelope. You had Christopher Daniels. First time I ever saw him bust out the best moonsault ever, I was like, oh, that was cool. I mean, and
Samoa Joe as well. I remember seeing him. I'm pretty sure one of the I saw I don't know, my timeline's probably completely messed up. But I remember seeing Joe AJ Styles and Daniels very early on. That's what really caught me with TNA.
But in those early stages, that was awesome. But where I really got into TNA, fast forward quite a bit. We're already bringing in some of these WCW or WWE guys. Team 3D is already there. Sting is already there. I didn't start really paying attention to TNA until they started really focusing on that homegrown talent that made them what they were. When they really started putting the Rockets to Samoa Joe and AJ and Christopher Daniels and Bobby Roode and James Storm, which I will still argue James Storm is still one of the greatest what could have been stories in the history of freaking wrestling.
James Storm, yeah. Because didn't he have the
Storm could have been an absolute monster.
Yeah, I've got like a list here of like 10 of the best TNA matches. And number 10 straight away is Chris Harris versus James Storm, a Sacrifice 2007. And I remember that whole feud.
When America's Most Wanted broke up. Oh my God, I forgot all about that. Because
the days of the six-sided ring.
Oh, James Storm turned heel, and I was like, you son of a bitch. But without him turning heel, we don't get Beer Money Inc. And Beer Money Inc. might be one of the greatest tag teams that were ever in TNA. Yeah. The other great tag team from TNA, the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah. That was Alex Shelley's team, wasn't it?
Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin. Yep.
Yeah. And then I remember after the whole run, Chris Sabin was the one that got the world title thing, which I thought was right out of the two. But now Alex Shelley's the champ, isn't he?
Alex, yeah, I think he's currently champ. Yeah. But the best thing about that is through all of the stupid shit they did when they first brought in Hogan and Bischoff, and you had Flair there. We're not even talking about. Don't get me wrong. Knowing what we know about him now, he's kind of a scumbag. But Black Machismo Jay Lethal.
Why is he a scumbag now?
Sexual assault allegations.
Oh, really? I didn't know about that.
Oh yeah.
It obviously didn't stick then.
Not to the level of like Marty Skrull, but.
Or my old friend, what was his name? I can't remember. Oh crap, what was his name? Jimmy Havoc.
Oh God, yeah.
I have employed him. Remember, in the last year, he has worked for me.
Really?
Yeah, he was performing at one of my comedy gigs. He does grassroots comedy, I guess, in England now. I didn't know until the person that brought him, because I had a guest drop out, an act drop out, and one of my comic mates brought him along because he knew about him as a filler. And then it was through talking to him, he was like, "Oh yeah, I've been on I have done wrestling." And I was looking at him, I was like, "Not Jimmy Havoc, is it?" And it was Jimmy Havoc.
I'll be down. I'll be down.
Apparently, I didn't ask about all the stuff, but he was in a lot of issues with the same stuff.
But
I never know. I've known women that would lie about that stuff, so I never just take it at words value. I don't believe in the whole you should just believe women, but let's not get onto that.
Whether you subscribe to that belief or not, I'm of the opinion, if there's that kind of a cloud hanging over your head, I don't think people should be doing business with you. Not that kind of thing anyway.
Yeah.
So I look at it from a business perspective.
I can't disagree with that.
But I've got you had Jay Lethal, and without TNA, we don't have the great woo-off between Ric Flair and Jay Lethal, which is still comedy gold.
Oh, the woo-off, yeah. They could redo that right now, man. They're both in AEW.
Oh my God, I just now made that connection. Please God, let that happen.
If they do that, it'll at least be on BTE anyway.
Oh yeah, something to think about though. Something to reminisce on. They did a best of 7 for the TNA tag titles between Beer Money and the Motor City Machine Guns. And that wasn't just Chef's Kiss. That was more like just beautiful.
It was one of those places TNA was where they could share, the people that weren't big stars in WWE could still be big stars in other places, was it big fish and little fish in a big pond, big fish in a little pond, etc.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at the world champions here, the first ever NWA TNA champion is one of them exactly. It's Ken Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock, right.
Then Ron the Truth Killings, R-Truth.
R-Truth.
And then Jeff Jarrett, and then AJ Styles.
Right, but also think about this. TNA also allowed WWE talent to resurrect their careers.
Yep.
Two guys stick out right off the top of my head. Number one, Ken Kennedy or Ken Anderson, Mr. Kennedy / Mr. Anderson.
Mr. Anderson.
And the other one, Jeff Hardy.
For good and bad, yeah.
Yes, for good and bad, because I mean, God, we still have the Victory Road incident burned into our brains if we're TNA fans. But also think about this: both of the Hardys used TNA / Impact to resurrect their careers, because without Impact, we don't get Matt Hardy and his broken brilliance.
Yeah, to be fair.
And that might be some of the best stories.
I mean, that was Ring of Honor, though. Originally.
It was both.
Yeah.
It was both. I mean, keep in mind, there was I can't remember who they were against. It might have been against Decay, which was Crazy Steve and Crazy Steve, Abyss, and Rosemary.
Yeah.
Against Jeff, Matt, and Rebby Sky. Ironically enough, Rebby Sky ends up telling the story. She found out 3 days before that match she was pregnant.
That you couldn't do it.
Right. So yeah, no, her and Rosemary take each other out, and the guys just pretty much beat the shit out of each other for the rest of the match.
To be fair, it's a cinematic match. You could work around that.
Well, no, this was in ring.
Oh, God.
This particular one was in ring because
this is bad. This is bad Impact, just to clarify before we carry on. But this is where I consider Impact had already gone way downhill at this point.
Yeah, this was the only thing good that Impact was doing at this point was, in fact,
this. Yeah, was something that they had no control over.
No.
They tried to. No, that was on Ring of Honor, I think.
Right. But this
you forgot about Kurt Angle, though. I can't believe you're talking about.
No, I did not forget about Kurt Angle. I just hadn't gotten there yet.
Okay.
What I was going to tell you, though, is that entrance that the Hardys and Rebby made. Rebby's playing piano, and Jeff comes out and is singing that, I'll fade away and classify myself as obsolete thing.
I think I watched a lot of them on YouTube.
Oh my God, they were so good. But KD beat me to the punch because, let's be honest, the single best thing that ever happened in TNA was Kurt Angle.
Well, realistically, as he was at that time, the reason why he was there, Perk Angle, yeah.
Perk Angle.
That was peak time. He became the wrestling machine. Some of his best performances were in there. He was there for the wrong reasons, but the fact that he was able to be there was great. Like him and Samoa Joe. Let's
be honest. If you were going to make a top 10 list of Kurt Angle's greatest matches, worst case, 6 of them come out of TNA.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean?
Like, at the absolute worst, 6 of those matches are from TNA.
Oh.
It could be more than that.
Got ya.
But at the very least, 6 of them.
Yeah, probably. More like he was active for a lot longer in TNA than he was in WWE.
Right, but at the same time, he also had guys that would bump like crazy for him. Because I mean, when he's on top, when Angle was on top in WWE, it was Triple H, Rock, Austin, Taker, those guys. When
rose up the ranks as quickly as LA Knight does now. Yeah.
When he's in TNA, he's got Daniels and AJ and Joe and Sting and Jarrett, and it's just oh my God.
He was there from about, when was this? Well, his first TNA title reign was 2007, it says here.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, 2007. But with the TNA title. So he was the first one. They kind of put everything on him, like as the TNA champion. They rebranded it around him to be just the TNA champ, which is a good person. If you're going to put it on anyone, that's a very good person to put it on.
Oh my God.
Did not realize that.
I mean, he had matches with Bobby Roode. He had matches with James Storm. He had matches with everybody. And that was as good as Kurt Angle got. Kurt Angle is arguably one of the greatest in-ring performers the business has ever seen, and it's because of his body of work in TNA that really solidified. Kurt
His
Angle,
body work in WWE was amazing anyway, but
Yeah.
it was another level, I'd argue, in TNA.
Yeah. There's amazing, and then there's godlike.
Yeah,
And that's what Kurt Angle in TNA was. He was God.
He was in God. He was in God mode when while Roman Reigns was sucking on his mum's tit.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean he was about 10 in that case then. But
No,
maybe
actually, no. This would have been.
it doesn't work.
This would have been like early 2000s, right?
2007. So yeah, he wasn't on his mother's tit unless him and his mum had a really close relationship.
He was in college at Georgia Tech, kicking the shit out of Auburn.
Yeah, this is the same year that I started college, so it makes sense.
Yeah. This guy, sidebar to Roman Reigns and playing college football. There was
when he was a bit more chubby Reigns.
Oh yeah, it was a 2-year stretch where Georgia Tech and Auburn played each other. One game in Auburn, one game at Georgia Tech.
You're spending too much time at the head of the table.
Yeah. Combined, this guy had like 6 or 7 sacks.
What?
Sacks? It's in American football. It's when a defensive player tackles the quarterback before the quarterback can throw the ball.
Oh, in England, that means like a ball sack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Did I ever mention that, I hate the fact that we call it football and there's already a football everywhere else in the entire world?
Yeah. But at the same time, like, I get it. Like, your guys aren't that into soccer, so your football is something else. I make jokes about it, but it's not really that big. And
the only people that play your football well in our country are women, and we don't pay them for shit.
Oh, neither do we over here, don't worry. That's not just you. But at the same time, though, I have argued this before that I don't believe, like the Women's World Cup that just went by, I don't believe the winners should get the same amount of money that the men get unless they're bringing in the same amount of money that the men do. Once it's at that point, they should get the same percentage of what's brought in.
The men don't bring in shit in this country as far as soccer goes because
for you. Yeah.
Because they suck. I mean,
over here it's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I'm about to say, World Cup rolls around and England has a shot at actually winning the damn thing. The Americans, we're lucky if we make it out of the knockout round.
yeah, pretty much.
Or we'll make it into the knockout round, rather.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my
you're
God.
on, great.
Oh my God, we made it to the round of 16 and now we're going to get the shit kicked out of us by Cameroon. Yay!
Yeah, that sounds like a recent thing that happened, wasn't it?
Yeah. God, I remember one year we made it to the round of 16, and which was a miracle unto itself. And we got like Germany or Italy or Brazil in the first round. And people were excited that we actually scored 2 goals against them. We lost like 7-2, but...
We were always, to be fair, we should have been a lot better. We were always worse than we should have been, which is ironic because we're talking about TNA, and that was always better than it should have been. But at times maybe worse as well, actually, because you think of some of the messed up shit that's gone on. Like straight away I was watching Dutch Mantel, was it? Or somebody else. I think it was Dutch Mantel. And then Eric Bischoff talking about the Victory Road with Jeff Hardy, that incident. That was bad.
That was bad.
Yeah.
But let's talk.
Fair play for sorting it out, though, for Eric Bischoff going out there and, somebody taking charge.
Yeah. Let's talk about something that I personally think vastly underrated and hella cool in TNA. Aces and Eights.
Oh God, come on, really?
Dude, Aces and Eights was fucking great. And
that was still kind of past the point for me, to be fair, but
here's why I say it was great. Not because of the actual gimmick itself. The whole ripoff of Sons of Anarchy, it was stupid.
Yeah, I wasn't too bothered about that myself. It felt to me more of a ripoff of DOA, was it, from the Attitude Era?
Yeah, but it was more supposed to be a wrestling takeoff of Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah.
But the part that I loved, And of course, me being a fan of really good villains, this is where I loved it.
God.
When you realized at the very last freaking minute that the leader of Aces and Eights was Bully Ray.
Yeah.
Devon tosses him the hammer. He turns around. Jeff Hardy has no idea. And
from what I remember, it was one of those reveals that made no sense because he'd literally been beaten up so many times by them and something else, you know. It made no sense. Like Vince McMahon, higher power. It was that level of, well, that don't make a bit of sense.
No. See, when Vince McMahon was revealed as a higher power, that was like, oh, come on. When Devon,
Yeah, it was still good.
When Devon tossed the hammer to Bully Ray, I remember watching that and just laughing. And not just like hysterical, like, oh my God, like, oh my God, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. You should see it coming the whole way, but you don't.
No. Literally, it's like seeing that reveal was like seeing the reveal in a movie at the very end where you're seeing flashbacks and it all pieces together right before the bad guy wins.
Yeah.
And it's literally like, toss the hammer, he has it, and you're like, and your brain rapid fire is just connecting point to point to point to point to point. You're like, how did I miss this?
Yeah. That was still a little bit past the one for me. Like, I think for me, like, main event mafia was like one of the ones, one of the last things, and I thought that was okay. How did you feel about that? Because I thought it was all right.
There were two versions of main event mafia.
Was there?
Yeah. Oh, okay. So you're talking about the first one. You didn't know about the second one.
I didn't even know about it.
No, it makes sense because the main event mafia reformed to let me rephrase that. Kurt Angle and Sting reformed the main event mafia to combat Aces and Eights.
Oh no, I don't. Wasn't in. Nah, before that. I forgot that Aces and Eights and Kurt Angle. Like Aces and Eights must have been earlier than I remember in that case. Then.
Yeah, Angle. It was toward the end. No, I will tell you when Aces and Eights was. Aces and Eights was the beginning of the end of AJ Styles in TNA.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because he was in that gimmick, in that storyline, wasn't he, before he left?
Yeah, so what was happening was AJ Styles had kind of taken this darker turn, and that's when he started using the calf killer, calf crusher, whatever you want to call it. Started using Naz as a finisher. Stop doing the Styles Clash. Stop doing the springboard forearm. All that stuff.
Oh, I didn't know he changed his wrestling that much.
Oh yeah. He was dark. He was vicious. He came out with the black hooded vest that we're used to seeing now.
Yeah. I remember seeing him at the time with his hair growing out as well, thinking, wow, he looks different. Talking to Dixie Carter.
Came out to a much slower tempo, almost kind of like bluesy rock kind of sounding song. It was really cool.
He became kind of like the anti-hero, like fighting against the Aces and Eights, didn't he?
He was Sting.
Yeah.
He was TNA's answer to Sting against the NWO.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what he was.
Yeah.
But that, I think, like 6 months after the end of Aces and Eights was when he had the falling out with TNA and told them to go fuck themselves, and instead of going straight to WWE, went to New Japan and kind of started doing a little bit of this number.
Sounds about right, because it says on here that the last time he was champion was 2013, October 20th. So that sounds about right. It couldn't have been that long after.
Yeah, because right after that's when he showed up and in his very first match in New Japan, beat Okada for the title.
That was his first match. I suppose he's not done stuff in Japan before.
Well, like his first match in that run in New Japan.
Oh, okay.
Like
I don't know. He might not have.
In his first match as a member of Bullet Club.
Pop.
Actually, no, because technically it wasn't necessarily his first match as a member. He wasn't revealed until the very end that he was now, in fact, the new leader of Bullet Club.
Okay, and then he took over from Finn Balor, didn't he?
Correct.
Yeah. God, you want to talk about WCW syndrome, man? That's all Bullet Club is. Like, I've never been a huge fan of it. Like, I've never watched it, but
Bullet Club in its second iteration, which I look at their different iterations by the leader. So when Prince Devitt exited and AJ Styles came in, Bullet Club became the new version of the NWO.
Yeah. As soon as you're doing that, like carrying on, I mean, it worked for him though, didn't it? Because the Bullet Club T-shirt is still like one of the best-selling ones.
It's, in my opinion, the Bullet Club T-shirt is one of the 5 best wrestling T-shirts of all time.
Yeah.
Hulkamania, Austin 316, NWO, DX, Bullet Club, and that is in no particular order.
It's hard to think of them off the top of my head.
The Hulk Rules shirt from early WWF.
Yeah.
But those are to me, those are the 5 most important T-shirts in the history of wrestling.
I'd argue CM Punk should be in there. CM Punk's like white, one like that with the thing. That's still a huge seller now, the AEW version.
It was a huge seller, but it didn't. It was a huge seller, but it wasn't like groundbreaking.
I mean, it kind of transcended wrestling for a bit and got into the media though because of that and that was all prevalent at the time, so people still have a bit of a thing for it.
It transcended for a little while, not
constantly. Not like a Stone Cold and all that.
Austin 316, DX, NWO, Bullet Club, all 4 of those.
You're not wrong, actually.
All 4 of those are still, all 4 of those shirts. The Hulk Rules shirt, not so much, but the other 4 of those shirts you could wear. You could wear any of those 4 to a wrestling event right now and not look out of place.
Yeah. They're also, it's like how some like, to be fair, it's much more of a woman style thing. Like they'll wear like Nirvana T-shirts, even though I never listened to them, but it's just a pop thing at the moment, pop culture kind of thing. I would argue the same thing with Hulkamania shirts, and those as well from the Attitude Era. Most likely, you could I could see somebody wearing them in the exact same vein.
Yeah, funny you mentioned wearing women wearing like the T-shirts and not really knowing anybody. So I was at my lady friend's house a couple weeks ago, and her daughter had a bunch of her friends over, and one of her friends, who will remain nameless, was wearing a Leonard Skinner T-shirt. Now, obviously, me growing up in a state, me being from a state that may or may not be in the name of one of their most popular songs,
Alabama.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Hey, I know. See, I know old rock totally, and don't know more the Kid Rock version.
That's
an appropriate reaction.
God.
Not that tune.
Okay. So sidebar. I'm in the car earlier today running some errands after I was done with all work stuff, and I had to sneeze. And normally there are 2 types of sneezers. You either sneeze out of your mouth or you sneeze out of your nose, right?
Well, there's another sneezer as well. There's the ones that hold it in.
Okay, there's 3.
Yeah. Okay.
I found a 4th version today. I sneezed out of both at the same time, and I felt like my face exploded.
That's just in England. We call that a bummer.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a bummer. It's like having a big poop. Yeah, I'm joking. We don't call it anything.
It was a weird feeling. Like, oh my God. Thank God I was at a red light when it happened.
Yeah, to be fair, I
My
wonder how many like accidents have been caused by people sneezing at inopportune times. I feel like
yeah,
there's probably quite a high number of that. You'd never
probably
know.
so. I got bumped. I got bumped one time because a
Huh.
little old lady sneezed and hit the gas instead of hitting the
Ah,
brake,
can't
which
be
was
angry a
fine.
little.
She didn't do any damage to her car or my car, so it was fine. Who cares? But
Ah, she could have run my dog over, and I'd have been like, you old lady. I can't
um,
be angry at you. Oh, well,
so
old women just have a power over me, man.
what were we talking about?
DNA.
But like, at what point did we sidebar? Did I take the left turn and talk about sneezing?
I don't know exactly which point that was, but I mean, looking at TNA in general, another thing to mention, like they had some great and terrible like innovations, like
Yes.
not including the six-sided ring because that's been talked to death, maybe. Like the match types that they came up with, good ones. You know, like I loved Ultimate X, but it had no right to be as good as it was. But the
Ultimate X,
matches
I
had
thought
no right
was
to be as good as they were.
Ultimate X. I thought was stupid, but
It
that's
is.
not the worst.
It is.
That's not the worst thing they did. That is not the worst
No,
thing they did.
that is the worst thing then.
King of the Mountain match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me remember what that was exactly. The Kingdom Mountain match. So that was the one where they had a shark cage outside.
Yeah, there was a shark cage outside. So
Yeah.
what happens is there's like 6, 8 people in the match.
Hmm.
You cannot be to win the match. You have to take the championship belt and hook it
Yeah.
hang it above the ring on the hook.
So straight away
But
to
you
reverse ladder match. Just get
it's a
that in your
reverse ladder
heads.
match. But you can't start. You can't try to climb the ladder and do all that stuff until you gain a pinfall or a submission at some point in the match.
Yes.
If you are pinned or submit, you have to go into the penalty box for 2 minutes.
Which, in all honesty, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I kind of like convoluted. I don't think wrestling fans are that dumb that they can't keep track of those rules. You know.
I am.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. All the wrestling fans are in
Dude,
it. I don't know.
dude, it was so bad. And you know what? But you know what I think the worst thing about TNA was?
Oh God. Okay.
Mike Tenay.
Oh, why?
I
Isn't he the one
hated, I
everyone
hated
likes?
Mike Tenay. I hated Mike Tenay.
Yeah, I wasn't a
The,
fan of him.
the single worst play-by-play guy in the history of wrestling. And keep in mind, boys and girls, at the point in time that he's the play-by-play guy for TNA, Michael Cole still sucked.
Yeah. Oh, he sucked for a while. We didn't realize how good he
Michael
was for a while.
Michael Cole is not Michael Cole now. Michael
Yeah.
Cole was Michael Cole 10 years ago.
Was it not JR at that point, or I forgot which point we're talking
They were
about? To be fair,
doing both.
exactly.
Michael Cole was doing one show and JR was doing another.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was
I suppose it
so
depends which Ultimate
bad.
X you're on about.
It was so bad. I mean, the only good thing they had going for them on commentary was freaking Don West.
I don't
And
even remember the commentary that much, in
Don
all
West
honesty.
did, Don West didn't know a damn thing that was going on. The only thing
Yeah,
that was really
I
awesome
remember that.
about Don West is Don West got excited.
Yeah. Which is what you want, man. You want like that kind of thing from your commentator. As long as you got that, you can ignore
Yeah,
the other one that's a bit boring. The
yeah. I
play-by-play
mean,
is always a bit more boring. I like it when there's a good commentator team, but it doesn't have to be. You know, I can still appreciate it, especially back then. You know, I'd watch anything back then. I was starved for it.
yeah. I mean, commentary teams is a different conversation for a different time.
Well, no,
Um,
it's a fair conversation.
but hey, but there's something else about TNA that
Hmm.
we have not talked about, and the fact that we've gone. I don't know. We still recording?
Should be.
Yeah, we're still recording. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
The only reason, the fact that we've gone this long and
Hmm.
haven't talked about it
Over an
is
hour.
a fucking travesty. And
What?
I am sorry. I apologize for it taking this long to get to it, but at the same time, we're also saving the best for last.
The best.
The Knockouts division.
Oh, wait, they were good. Then you mean?
The
Not good.
Knockout division changed women's wrestling, dude.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I thought you were saying the worst thing at first.
Oh no! Like this, like TNA's the knockouts division and what they did for women's wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I think will be the first thing that TNA will be remembered for.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but maybe the first good thing the TNA will be remembered for.
The first good, the first positive contribution to wrestling that they will be known for.
Yeah. Because without them, like very much so, you don't get the women's revolution in WWE, which led to WWE now being by far the best place for women's wrestling.
Oh God, yeah. But the women of the knockouts division of TNA walked so the women's division of WWE could run. Because go back and look at that freaking roster. You had the beautiful people. You had Gail Kim. You had Awesome Kong. You had Mickey freaking James.
Yeah. She had a lot more respect in that company she did.
Oh my God.
Didn't Gail Kim, did she leave Impact in a screwy way, or was that WWE? I forget.
She left WWE in a screwy way.
Oh, okay, so she always kept like a good relationship with, or more so with TNA.
Very much so. When they had their 1000th episode of Impact. Several months ago, she made an appearance, and it was a huge deal. Gail Kim left TNA/Impact because she got married.
Oh, okay.
And she got married to an Englishman that I would be absolutely terrified of seeing, even though he's a fucking chef.
Oh yeah, I mean, at some point, most women normally want to go off and have a family.
Robert Irvine's arms are about as big as my freaking head, it looks like. I'm like, that dude is jacked to be a chef.
See, I wouldn't be so... Oh, yeah, that's weird, actually, now you say that. That is strange.
Have you
can graze all night long, though, at least.
Have you seen the guy? Do you know what he looks like?
Nah, but I've seen Bobby Lashley. I don't need to.
Okay, well,
no one's bigger than that.
Robert Irvine is a chef, and he's that ripped. I'm like, that's a scary looking sumbitch.
I mean, the biggest, muscliest people are normally the chillest and most, like, emotionally mature as well.
Yeah, I mean,
so it's probably like a teddy bear, man.
Yeah. Something else you mentioned that before we get into that something else. Still want to talk about.
So I want to know what you think are the worst things from TNA as well in a minute. So. Carry on what you're saying.
But you had all of them. You had I mean, keep in mind, TNA introduced us to people like Thea Trinidad.
Who?
Selena Vega.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was Sarita in TNA.
Oh, okay. Maybe that was after my time in that case, and probably because she's young. So.
Yeah, she got her start there. I mean, there were a lot of great women that wrestled in TNA, and the matches that they put on led us to where we are now with women's wrestling, and thank God.
Yeah.
Because
100%.
Yeah, because let's be honest. Without that, we don't get the 4 horsewomen of NXT. And
I would argue. Sorry, go ahead.
Without the 4 horsewomen of NXT, women's wrestling in WWE sucks ass.
Yeah. It would take, at the very least, it would have taken many years longer to get to where it is now.
If it ever did.
Yeah. Damn, what was I going to say then?
Hey, real quick, while you're thinking about that, the other thing that I wanted to point out that I'm glad we got, and we got it because of TNA, Bobby Lashley.
Yeah, you forget about his one over there,
Lashley's run in TNA was sick.
Where was that from? We're probably looking. I know his first title reign was June 19th, 2014.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, just on Impact.
Yeah, another cool thing that happened with TNA, and it was just a beautifully told story. Was before the Aces and Eights run. Keep in mind, TNA is the place where it's been the only time in history that someone kicked out of 3D.
Oh, really?
The Dudleys hit Chris Sabin with the 3D.
Wow.
Devon made the cover and Sabin kicked out. The stipulation of the match was if 3D lost, they were done.
What?
And Bully Ray
Oh, they lost the match. They were done.
They lost the match. Bully Ray turned on Devon.
Oh, well, okay. So they were done.
And that's where Bubba Ray became Bully Ray.
I think it was always Bully Ray in TNA, just for
it was it was Brother Ray and Brother Devon.
Oh,
and then when Ray turned on Devon, he became Bully Ray.
Yeah, because he came back since then, though, didn't he, Devon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but Bully Ray. That's what I call him more now. Anyway, Bully. I know him more as Bully Ray because he's been really good as another person in TNA. You know, that shows people that aren't quite big enough in some senses. You know, for WWE or just aren't used like that. But in TNA, man.
Oh yeah.
Flourish.
So you were asking me what I thought was the worst thing that ever came out of.
Yeah, some of the worst things you think of when you think TNA. Like, I know a few people would say, like, you know, Vince Russo, for example. But I think Vince Russo gets a lot of flack that he shouldn't get because everybody loves the Attitude Era, and he was the architect of the Attitude Era, so it's kind of weird to me.
I don't credit him as being the architect for the Attitude Era.
He did make it so that everybody on the roster, everybody on the card had something to do. That's unarguable. Like, he made that.
That, yes, but the storylines, he threw out a ton of shit. And Vince
they weren't great. They weren't all great.
Vince McMahon filtered it all.
Yeah, totally.
I will still say that Vince Russo has done vastly more harm than good to the professional wrestling world. But
maybe in TNA.
My God, yeah. But still, to me, the worst things that ever came out of TNA, in no particular order, were the King of the Mountain match. And I'm sorry, but that was unfucking forgivable.
It was terrible.
It was so freaking bad.
The worst battle royal.
God.
That was atrocious. I remember watching it thinking, just roll in the ring. What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's not hard.
Yeah. Let's see. That. We will.
Murder mystery. Somebody got murdered. I know about it. I didn't watch it, but I heard about it.
Yeah.
That was new TNA though, or new Impact.
Yeah, I didn't even watch that.
Nah.
But the other really bad thing that I think TNA will always be known for is Victory Road.
Yeah, definitely.
The Victory Road incident with Jeff Hardy. That was
horrendous.
So bad.
Apparently because I was listening to that recently, like Bischoff saying, like, in general, Jeff would normally come to the arena, sign in at whatever time they tell him supposed to get there, like 11 a.m. or something, I think he said, and then disappear until he was on the card, doing whatever he's doing, wherever he was. And the first time he saw him was at Gorilla, like, just before he went out.
Mm-hmm.
And he wasn't nobody was like a point man, you know, to really make a difference in Gorilla. I wasn't like Vince McMahon who would just say something and it'd be done. Like, nobody knew what to do. It was just because he said when he went out to the ring, he still didn't know what he was going to do. He just knew that something had to be done.
Yeah.
There's all the stuff they could have done, to be fair. Well, not exactly all the stuff they could have done, but they could have just brought somebody else out. But it was literally quick time, you know.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, Jeff Hardy was the champion at that point. And, you know, they couldn't sub Jeff Hardy out. This was the main event of Victory Road. Jeff was defending against Sting, or Sting was defending against Jeff. But it was the world title match.
I mean, the title match went ahead, and it was, you know, it needed to be done quickly. I have no issues with what Sting had to do. It sucks that Sting was put into that situation.
Sting rolled him up the hard way.
Yeah. It was like a scorpion death drop, which was more of a trip down, I remember.
Right.
And then forcible pin. And Jeff Hardy not understanding what had gone on afterwards.
Right.
After teasing to throw his t-shirt out the ring for like what felt like 5 minutes and then not doing it.
Oh yeah.
I think you forgot about it.
He did that.
He did that.
Yeah. Oh my God. But yeah, dude.
At least that was the only time it happened, though. They can't have too much of a reputation. If it happened again with somebody else, that would have been bad. I don't think it did. So
No, it didn't. It didn't. There were a lot of good things, a lot of bad things that came out of TNA. I think there are some people that get bad raps for things that happened in TNA. Like, I think one person that's pretty much become a martyr in pro wrestling is Dixie Carter.
Yeah. She, for some reason, did at the very least give a shit about wrestling.
I mean, her parents who funded the whole thing didn't give two fucks, but she did.
Yeah. Like, I still don't understand that.
Damn.
I mean, let's be fair. She wasn't good, but she was trying a lot more than other people have. With the right people behind them. I don't know. She always tried. She just wasn't very good from what I saw, though. To be fair.
No, I mean, as an on-screen character, she was absolutely just god awful. But I mean,
yeah.
But running the company, she cared. And
she cared.
If you've got a company that's kind of fledgling like that, having a boss that actually gives a shit, that makes a difference.
Like, it's the exact same thing I say with Tony Khan. Like, his booking annoys the hell out of me. I think he takes on far too much. I don't like the style. There's many bad things I can say about AEW and many good things. But when it comes to Tony Khan, though, like, at the very least, he really cares about wrestling. He loves it and he gives a shit.
Tony Khan gives a shit. Dixie Carter gave a shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, but I'm gonna throw it out there, and people are gonna be like, "Oh, you're such a fucking mark." Paul Levesque gives a shit.
Yeah, it totally gives a shit. I mean, example someone who didn't.
Paul Levesque gives a shit. Vince McMahon did not. Paul Levesque gives.
I don't think that's fair. Vince McMahon gave a shit for a while. Last like 20 years, he didn't give a shit.
Vince gave this kind of shit. He gave a shit about the money.
No, he wasn't even just that. I think he gave a shit more at the beginning. Maybe he just wanted to do better than his family because it's easier ways to make money than wrestling, especially the way he did, the risky ways he went about it, and being, at the forefront and the decision maker for all those years when he didn't need to be. I think he cares too much about it, and he thinks he is the best at it, which for a while was true with the Attitude Era and all that.
Oh my God, yeah.
But for the last like 20 years, not so much.
Yeah, you can make the same case with people like Jim Ross. Jim Ross had his window in which he was like the greatest ever, and then outside that window,
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of love Salty JR though.
Salty JR is fun, but I mean, when he's not salty, it's just like, okay, dude, let's,
He old.
You're the grandpa or the great grandpa that's trying to stay hip.
I think recently they've started to use him well though, just having him out, just for like 1 or 2 matches at a time, wasn't it, on pay-per-views?
Well, at the same time, I think his health is starting to kind of decline. And I apologize, guys, for bouncing around as much as I have. I literally have no backrest here because I haven't figured out where I actually want to do the show. So I'm sitting on the foot of my bed because I don't really know where to do the show right now. So
figure it out as you go, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But we'll figure it out.
I'm still not in a permanent setup for where I am or want to be, but make do still. Bit by bit. I saw a nice chair I'm gonna get, so I'll have a comfortable bottom next time.
Nice. So let me ask you. You asked me. I'll ask you. What do you think was the best thing and the worst thing to ever come out of TNA? And we will leave it at this.
Yeah, I think the innovation was definitely the best thing. Like one thing that you'd remember them for in the good sense. I mean, I agree with the knockouts. I think there must have been more later for because I just don't remember them that much.
The knockouts really became a thing probably like middle of the way through.
Yeah. Like I think of more like, Monsters Balls, that kind of stuff. Giving people another go, like, your Christian, your Kurt Angles, even all that.
Mhm.
There's a lot of good for TNA.
Yeah.
It's very nostalgic for me. TNA is
I have a better question for you.
the worst.
And this is how we will end the show tonight.
Okay.
Who is your TNA Mount Rushmore?
Okay, without the slaves, I'm guessing.
Huh?
Without the slaves, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And Mount Rushmore, I'm just clarifying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. How many is that? 4? 4. Okay, it's an interesting question. Shall I go for like performers?
Whatever.
Okay. Ooh, it's an odd one. AJSO has got to be there.
Yep.
I've got to put the trio down: AJ, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and then the other one. That's one where it's a bit more tough. No, you know what? It's not actually. It's not tough at all. AJ, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Jeff Jarrett.
We have almost the same ones.
Okay.
Actually, only one different. I will agree with you on AJ, Samoa Joe, and Jeff Jarrett.
Okay. You know what? Christopher Daniels was the one I was unsure about, actually, because he didn't go on to do as big things.
I will replace Christopher Daniels with Kurt Angle.
Yeah, I was thinking then replace Christopher Daniels with Abyss.
No.
He's a big part of that. He's the whole he's the whole Monsters Ball and hardcore side of it.
Right, but
And he's been there the whole time as well, like unlike Raven, like
I can still name 20 performers better than him.
Yeah, of course.
So
it feels like the Undertaker over there, he's just been there. He's one of the real people you think of.
I don't.
Okay.
I see it, when we do word association with TNA, I see Angelina Love and Velvet Sky before I see Abyss.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe it was more because of my affinity with hardcore wrestling. I've always been a fan of it. I can't do death matches; is too much for me.
See, but in the reason I went with that, Jeff Jarrett's the founder. TNA, Jeff Jarrett's the founder. AJ is the single greatest performer to ever come out of there. Samoa Joe is a once in a generation kind of talent, and Kurt Angle went from being a phenomenal wrestler that won an Olympic gold medal to God.
It's hard to argue, to be fair. I understand.
Angle, I will triple down on this, and this will be the last thing I say. Cue the music. Kurt Angle in TNA was the closest thing to an act of God that professional wrestling has ever seen. That was the good Lord's good work right there, just going, if I were going to come down and be a professional wrestler, this is exactly what I would do and go.
And people can't even say that was because of WWE, because he wasn't the wrestling machine in WWE. That was all TNA.
Oh yeah, every bit of him. Again, the top 10 Kurt Angle matches, at the very least, and I would probably say closer to 8, but at the very least, 6 of them come out of TNA.
I mean, yes, he was exceptionally drunk and taking a lot of painkillers through all of that time, but never when he was in the ring. Always after, and that's a functioning addict for you right there. I don't know how functioning.
I would probably say closer to 8 as opposed to 10.
Yeah, I'd agree. Probably around go to an even 7.
Yeah, because I mean, he had that one match with Shawn at WrestleMania, which
Yeah.
He had the one match with Shane McMahon at King of the Ring where he's throwing him through the glass plates again and again and
Yeah,
again.
that would probably be there just for sheer, like brutality and heart.
Exactly. And honestly and truly, those two matches are
Brock?
the first two that,
Brock at WrestleMania, maybe, or one of them anyway. I think
No.
there was 2 out of 3 that people really liked.
No, I don't think any. I don't think any of those matches they had with Lesnar really stood out as, oh my God, this was a classic.
They'd be arguable though.
Even the match at WrestleMania 19 to me fell off, and it was long before Brock Lesnar tried to do the shooting star press and kill himself.
Yeah, to be fair, I mean that's enough of it right there. The dude almost killed himself in it. Speaking
of act of gods, it's still an act of God that Brock Lesnar's not dead.
Oh yeah. And the same goes for anyone that meets him nowadays, really.
When your neck is the size of a redwood tree, that'll keep you from dying. If you decide to throw yourself off the top rope and land on your head.
Kurt Angle and Brock Lesnar were probably 2 of the only wrestlers from back in the day that I would argue could maybe have made it in Japanese wrestling. I mean, maybe not Kurt Angle actually, because his neck had already been broken, so it would have given way eventually. But they were dropping each other on the heads, aren't they? So.
You do realize Lesnar won the IWGP Championship, right?
Yeah, but he was only there for what did they say for a hiccup? He wasn't there for long. For a cup of coffee.
Do you know who he beat to win the IWGP Championship?
Did he not have a match with Kurt Angle at some point?
A Japanese god.
That Okada, Ibushi. Shinsuke.
Nakamura. He beat Nakamura.
Oh, okay. I've seen pictures of Nakamura when he was in the is it New Japan he was in?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, he was fat. Well, he wasn't fat. He was just fatter than he is in. There was more size to him, we'll say.
Yeah, he was.
If he was Walter in at first, he was Gunther when he was in WWE.
Nakamura
not quite that much.
Nakamura was more Walter in Progress as opposed to Gunther in WWE. At this, my God, that guy is and we're talking about Gunther here. That is a different conversation for a different day, and that is a really fun conversation.
Yeah. If you want about like some of the top stars of the modern era, that we could really see pushing on, being the next linchpins.
That sounds like a very a topic that we will do very. I like that, KD. So, well, I don't know about you, but I'm getting out of here mainly because my back is killing me.
No, I can imagine. My butt isn't feeling too great, and I need to watch some SmackDown. So,
well, for KD's sleep depravity and his butt and my back and the disembodied voice of Brian Aloysius Krigo, we want to thank you guys for listening and watching this crazy wild ride of a show that we're on, whether it be on the YouTubes or any of the podcast affiliates like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google. I think that's it. Again,
I don't know.
I think that's it. Like, subscribe, share, leave a 5-star review for the 5-star review. Click the bell for the notification. Help out with the algorithm and keep this pain train rolling. KD, before we get out of here, any final thoughts?
As usual, go on over to KD Comedy to check out some more of the comedy stuff that I'm doing as per. Nothing else really. TNA is cool. I can't wait to see it again. TNA.
I'm the same way. And until then, for everybody else at the show, I'm Patrick. It's been Wrestling with Egos. Thanks for watching, because conversations like this are definitely why we love pro wrestling. And with that, I say, wabba-doo.
Wabba-doo-doo, wabba-doo-doo, doo-doo, doo-doo.